Okay. Okay, everyone. So it is day 12 of our journal challenge. And I apologize. I am almost an hour late starting today. We usually start at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I got behind today with the weather and I'm just getting in. And so today we are going to talk about consistency. Today we are going to talk about consistency. We are almost rounding out 2 weeks of our journal challenge. And so if you've been following along, you should by now have a pretty good Q&A going on in your journal this month. Give me a second here. I'm gonna type something on the screen here. Consistency. Okay, so again, I'm Katrina Joy. It is day 12. We are talking about consistency. And when we think about consistency, basically, we are just talking about taking a committed step towards doing something to a completed goal. It's about patterns, it's about habits, and people who are successful are that way because they have successful habits. And so we've been touching on a lot of concepts this month during our 30-day journal challenge. And as I always like to tell you, if you want to get the questions to your inbox, text journal 30 to 39492, journal 30 to 39492. And so as we think about consistency, again, we always have our question that we ask ourselves every day, and that is, what have I done today to bring me closer towards my best self? What am I doing upon rising, and what am I doing consistently? Now we can use that word. What am I doing consistently throughout the day to bring me closer to my intentions and my goals? And we talked about alignment this month as well, and making sure that the things that we do are in alignment with what we say. Do our deeds match our declarations? And so when we think about consistency, we want to think about finishing what we start. Just kind of check in with yourself and think about, do I finish what I start? Am I a finisher, or am I a person who I'm chaotic maybe, or I have all these ideas and I start this but I don't finish that? And that is being inconsistent. We can be inconsistent with our goals. We can be inconsistent in relationships. We can be inconsistent with our spiritual practices. So when we look at all the areas of our life, we want to look at, do I finish what I start? Am I showing up the same way? I'm looking at patterns. We think about consistency being the building block of trust, because I'm going to start trusting in what I see you consistently do. Okay, and so think about ways where you felt maybe someone in your life was inconsistent, and so it caused you not to trust them because this is inconsistent behavior, or maybe your deeds don't match your declaration. So when we think about consistency, we want to look at it from that way as well. So write down in your journal, your first question is, where in my life am I not finishing what I start? Where in my life am I not finishing what I start? And that is, again, about trusting in yourself as well, because when you do things to completion and do things to an end, then you start to have more self-confidence in who you are and have more self-confidence in what you can achieve. And it all has to do with things being rooted in your self-worth. So think about that. Where in my life am I not finishing what I start. And that is about being consistent. When we think about just, doing things to completion, when you are consistent long term, that's going to always trump like short term intensity. Like if you just have like a burst of energy or a burst of, oh, I'm crushing goals today. If you are consistent over the long term, every time it's going to trump out short term intensity. You don't want, if you think about something that you need to have done, you want someone on your team, so to speak, who's going to be able to follow through to the end, not just the person who can show up for the day and I worked hard for the whole day, but then I don't show back up tomorrow. And so think about that in relation to yourself and things that you want to achieve and accomplish, and also just the way you want to show up in the world. You want to make sure that when you show up, you're not the person who people can depend on, or when people can't rely on you. Again, as I said before, consistency is the building block of trust. All of that is rooted in your deeds matching your declaration, and if you are a finisher. And so just kind of, sit with that for a while and just kind of let that kind of marinate in your head about how you really show up. Again, this is something you want to write in your journal. I am pleading with you to have a journal dedicated to your journal challenge so you can look back over it and make sure you're labeling. Day one, we talked about this, and this is the word of the day. You can also, if you text journal 30 to 39492, you can just print out each day instead of, if you don't want to write it, you can print it out and just maybe put it in like a binder or something like that. That's something that you can do as well. There is a book that I once saw, and the title of the book was How You Do Anything is How You Do Everything. Oh my goodness. And so it just resonated with me. And that's about consistency. And I often say that to my children about things, how you do anything is how you do everything. If you procrastinate on this front, you're going to procrastinate on the other end too. If you don't care the way you look, then you're not going to care the way anything else looks. It's just about really, when I told you, look at areas of your life. If you're an inconsistent person, it's going to spill over into all areas of your life. It's not just going to be in one area. And so that's why that book resonated with me. How you do anything is how you do everything. And you will start to see, those different threads show up in areas of your life. And so it's about looking at, okay, where can I make incremental improvements to make sure that I am being consistent? And that is pretty much kind of our next journal question, which is, what is one thing you can avoid doing that's counterproductive to you being consistent in a certain area? Just one thing. One thing you can avoid doing that is counterproductive to you being consistent in a certain area. Do you need to get up earlier? Is that stopping you from being consistent with your fitness plan? Do you need to, maybe get off the phone? Is that counterproductive to a goal that you have? Do you need to spend less money? Is that counterproductive? Do you need to invest more money? Sometimes it could be that you're not willing to invest or spend more in your growth and in your development. It could be that, do you need to get off social media? When you have a break, is that the first thing you do is go to look at social media instead of maybe putting, investing more time into something else to get you towards a common goal? Maybe do you need to stop committing to things that you know that you don't want to do? We talked about boundaries on day 2. And that's basically, Where are you saying yes when you really need to say no? A lot of times your inconsistency can come from you not wanting to hurt someone else, or we talked about freedom yesterday. You have permission to be who you are. So maybe you don't want to show up as your true self. And so you're being inconsistent. So people don't really know who you are. There are so many ways we can look at what being consistent, what that is. But I want you to look at it in your life from your own viewpoint and vantage point, because remember, our perception is based on our own experiences. And so think about that as you write things down in your journal, where the inconsistency lies. If you are having maybe problems with committing to certain things, you need to that is it rooted in self-worth? If you have commitment, what is that about? Are you scared of something? It's so many layers. I like to call them layers to that. So really, that one thing that is counter you can change. Think about exactly what that is that can make a major difference in an area of your life. It could, waiting is something, and just let me think, give me a game changer for you. It could be that maybe you really you have too much on your plate, and so maybe you need to learn how to delegate something that's counterproductive to you not being able to be consistent. A lot of times we think multitasking is the way to go, but there's a lot of research out there that says, hey, if you really want to accomplish something, you need to stick to one thing at a time and follow that through to the end. So again, I just said earlier that long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. So think about that. All of these things, again, are about how consistency is the building block of trust. So when we think about that certain issue, again, it kind of goes back to the first work projects, entrepreneurial projects, however you want to call it. Maybe and here we are, day 12, right? Some people have set New Year's resolutions and all kind of stuff, and boom, here we are. We are 2 weeks in, and a lot of people, I mean, if you search through the hashtag resolution fail, that started on day 2. Okay, so make sure that when you are committing to something, that it's aligning. We talked about alignment. It's in alignment with your core values, because you are more encouraged and you're going to be more engaged. We talked about engagement this week too. You're going to be more engaged to follow through to the end when it's something that's in alignment with your core values and who you are. Okay, and so our affirmation for today is, I finish what I start. I finish what I start. Some of you might not be struggling with that, but I tell you, this is a big one. I finish what I start. I do things to completion, to the end. I go the distance. Consistency being the building block of trust. Just think about who or what is costing you. We always want to look at cost. What does it cost you not to finish what you start? Is it costing you relationships? Is it costing you money? Is it costing you a better life? Is it costing you mental health, physical health? What is it costing you to be consistent? What is it costing you where people don't trust you? Because again, consistency being a building block of trust, where your word is just not bond. So I really can't fool with you. So just think about that. It's a lot to think about. Again, this is day 12, consistency. We talked about a lot. If you want the questions to your inbox, text journal 30 to 39492. Make sure you share the video, comment, let me know what you think. Send me an inbox and just be involved. I know that it might seem a little overwhelming, and some of you are talking about catching up. Just start where you are. If you picked up on day 8, start on day 8. If you came in today as your first time, just start here and keep going, and then go back. But dedicate a journal specifically to this and write down, what your true authentic feelings are as we walk through the questions. I don't expect you to answer the questions necessarily while I'm doing the video, but go back and watch the video again if you need to. But definitely, take some of self-discovery. We're trying to really get to know and be in touch with ourselves, because as we start a new calendar year, because I always talk about that in the videos about, January 1 is really the start of a calendar year, not really a natural new year. But as we start the new calendar year, we don't want to be the same. And as we come into the true new year in the spring, when it's really time, to refresh and do a fresh start, we want to have spent the winter months really getting to know ourselves in a better way, and to reflect and come to a place where we have some understanding about why we do the things that we do. So thank you for listening. I appreciate your time. I don't take for granted that you stop by to listen to this video, whether you're listening to it live or recorded. I do thank you for that. And again, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we will do this again tomorrow. Thank you. See you later.